afternoon, everybody. I'm Dika from C Focus, and I will be moderating our final talk of the third edition of C Focus with Museum MACAN from Jakarta. Before we begin, please be informed that there will be a short Q&A segment at the end of this session. So you'll be encouraged to leave comments and your questions in the Q&A functions. It's a green button at the bottom of your Zoom webinar, whether you're on desktop or on your phone. And today we have the curators at the museum live from Jakarta. Welcome Asep, Jeon, and Asri. Before that, I'd like to talk about Museum MACAN first. Museum MACAN is short for the Museum of the Modern and Contemporary Art in Nusantara. And it has provided public access to a significant and growing collection of modern and contemporary art from Indonesia and around the world. And I happen to be Indonesian, so it is such a pleasure and honor to have the team to work with C Focus in this very special program. The museum is so young, but he has delivered so many world-class exhibitions in quality and in scale, and it truly has brought the best of Indonesian contemporary art to the world stage, and it has become the key epicenter of art in Southeast Asia. So the three curators that we have with us today will be taking us on an exclusive tour of their current exhibition. The first one is Melati Suryodarmo, Why Let the Chicken Run, along with a first look of their brand new showcases titled Stories Across Rising Lands, as well as another showcase titled Semesta dan Angan, or Multiverses and Dreams, selections from the Collection of Museum MACAN. Please allow me to introduce the curators. Here we have Asep Topan. Asep is a curator at Museum MACAN, and he worked as a vice director of Jakarta Biennale from 2016 to 18. He has collectively and individually participated in numerous exhibitions, public programs, and long-term art projects, including the De Apel Curatorial Program, Amsterdam 2015 to 16. He is a lecturer at Jakarta Institute of Arts, focusing on art activism. Welcome, Asep. Next, we have Jeon, the co-curator of MACAN's exhibition Stories Across Rising Lands. Jeong-ok is a Jakarta-based Korean curator who is actively engaging in Southeast Asian contemporary art. You may know Jeong-ok where she serves as director at Arcolabs. She is also a full-time curator at Visual Art Education Department of the Jakarta State University. And finally, we have Asri Winata. Asri is an assistant curator at Museum MACAN. Before joining the museum, she was a junior consultant at S.E.A Art Advisory. And during her stint in the museum, she was involved in the exhibitions titled Dunia Dalam Berita in 2019, Shaping Thought and Method 2019, Julian Roosevelt Manifesto in 2020, among many, many others. So welcome, and such a pleasure to have the three of us today. I would like to begin the session by passing the baton to Asep, where he will be guiding us through the solo exhibition of Melati, which is the biggest presentation within a museum spanning over 20 years of practice. Asep, over to you.
Thank you, Dika, for the introduction. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are staying safe and healthy through this time being. My name is Asep Topan, and I will share a little bit about the solo exhibition Why Let the Chicken Run by Melati Suryodarmo. The exhibition Why Let the Chicken Run marks the Melati's first solo presentation within the museum, and it presents significant works from over 20 years of art practice, including scheduled live performances, photography, video performances, as well as historical documentation. Why Let the Chicken Run traces Melati's artistic practice through the presentation of her incredible long durational performance pieces that range from 3 to 12 hours in duration. Through these long durational works such as I'm a Ghost in My Own House and The Black Ball, the artist challenges her body physically and psychologically in a pursuit of a deeper spiritual understanding of the self. Her artistic practice is influenced by Butoh, deep and ongoing relationship with other artists, formal art education in Europe, as well as her investigation into Javanese traditional cultures. These rich and varied influences are explored in the exhibition through the inclusion of selection from her personal archive as well. Melati is one of the Indonesia's international acclaimed artists and has exhibited and performed extensively around the world. She has presented her work in various international festival and exhibition, including Manifesta 7 in 2008, 8 Asia Pacific Triennale in 2015, and the exhibition Memento Mori at the S.E.A. Singapore, to name a few. Melati was born in Surakarta in 1969 in Indonesia, and since 2007, Melati has been organizing an annual performance art laboratory and performance art festival called Undisclosed Territory. In 2012, she founded Studio Plus One, an art space for performance art or performance artists used as a laboratory as well. And in 2017, she served as artistic director at the Jakarta Biennale 2017 Jiwa. She currently lives and works between Germany and Solo, Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Asep. That was such a thorough sneak peek and look through of Melati's practice. And yes, you did mention that she was a resident and she exhibited in STPI, which was also such a pleasant experience where, you know, the experience that she brought in and her understanding of performance art and brought it into print and paper, that was really an amazing experience for all of us. So, you know, we were going through the video and we saw a lot of these snippets of the MACAN space, which is huge, definitely. And I also see a couple of various objects, whether it is her artworks or recordings, videos, and performance relics. So I'm just wondering, you know, as a curator working with your curatorial department, how do you curatorial balance the differences of performance art piece, you know, live, against performance recordings, and also performance relics in this exhibition?
Yeah, thank you, Dika, for the question. I think that's a very good question. And talking about STPI, I remember that it was that time when we are preparing the exhibition by the end of 2019, and she was also back and forth to Singapore for the STPI event. And I think to answer the question, the most important process is to have a dialogue with the artist. Because not only in regards to the performance art or its recording or relics, but for me, each work is special and some of them need adjustment differently inside the space. As a curator, of course, this is a challenge for us to think differently with presenting performance art. It's quite it's new for us actually in the Museum MACAN to have this scale of exhibition of performance art. Naturally, it changes the format of the exhibition and how the audience will experience the museum space and how we, like for example, arrange the schedule of the performance, because it feels like we are not only having the exhibition, right, but also organizing like performance at festival.
Yeah, like programming, yes.
Yeah, it's like programming as well. And then, like for example, I will give you like a little bit detail for the one performance I'm in my own house. For that performance, the museum need to open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. because the performance duration is 12 hours itself. Normally we open only from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we have like different operational procedure. We have different, something need to change in the museum itself. And I think this is a huge challenge for us indeed. And I'm glad that Melati is very cooperative with us in regard to this matter and also in the whole process of exhibition making. Yeah, I hope that answer your question.
Of course, of course. I think having the artist's opinion and involvement, it is extremely crucial, especially, you know, balancing so many various mediums. And I also do know that aside from her own live performances, there are also segments where you invite volunteers to be part of the show. So I think that really truly makes the exhibition really special. So you mentioned the work titled I'm a Ghost in My Own House. It would be such a great time for us to talk about this. Maybe you can expand more about the work.
Yeah, I think this is a great work, as you mentioned, this performance is titled "Amagos in My Own House." The duration is 12-hour performance, and firstly performed or created in 2012. Melati has performed this several times, I think, not only this time. And for this performance, Melati dressed in a white, we can see here in the screen, and stand in the middle of a room filled with charcoal, with a table and a heavy stone rolling pin. Uh, Over 12 hours, she picks up and grinds hundreds of kilograms of charcoal, and it is an extremely physical performance. And in the process, her clothes become blackened by the soot and the dust. For Melati, charcoal is a symbolic material which passes through various states of transformation, from living organic matter to fuel to be burned. And through this performance, Melati transformed the charcoal from a solid into dust. It encompasses many of the Melati's idea of a quote unquote life energy, which can be converted to a life cycle. And the repetitive core-like process of grinding and transforming charcoal bricks mirrors the duality of work and liberation, as well as the destruction and transformation. This performance actually the earliest performance that we schedule for the exhibition, and apart from the Violet Physical performance in the opening. And that exhibition itself was opened in 28 February 2020. But 2 weeks later, unfortunately, we need to close our tour because of the pandemic situation.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I will let the audience now see the short video documentation of the performance in closer details.
So you mentioned that the work lasts for about 6 hours, yes?
12. This one is 12.
12
Yes.
hours.
Yeah.
So has she ever carried the performance in different duration? Or is there a reason why it's 12 hours?
I think most of the performance, the timing reason, we are not actually related to the concept of the performance itself.
I
But
see, I see.
That's almost happened to all the performance by Melati, apart from like 15 minutes. So the thing is, the thing important for her is how she consider the long duration of performance. So for her, the performance from 1 hour and more is long durational performance. And for this specific work, 12 hour is also mirror the volume of the installation, because with like 1.5 tons of charcoal, she cannot like green all of them, but only few, only little. But as an installation, it was amazing. And the other performance, like for example, you mentioned about the delegated performance. I think the one of the most extreme duration in this exhibition is a 4 hour performance, 4 days performance. So each day, the delegated performance need to perform 8 hours each day.
I think it is very iconic. This is very painstaking, exhausting, tiring performance pieces that Melati performs, and her uses of medium. It really does return in her, such long span of practice, which we also experienced in STPI, where she also used a couple of charcoal-based medium. And I think, maybe we can segue a little bit from Melati's work, because, this piece, it does remind me of another Southeast Asian artist, Kawita Vajaykur's also equally exhausting performances, which I think Jeong-ok, she is part of the current exhibition, yes, which is Stories Across Rising Lands. So I think we can go towards Museum Machan's next showcase, where Jeong-ok is the co-curator. Jeong-ok, would you like to expand more about the show?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tika. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeong-ok John, and it's my extreme honor to meet all of you and also be able to lead the exhibition tour today. I co-curated this exhibition together with Mr. Asep Topan. So this is a group exhibition presenting artists from Southeast Asian countries, including Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Laos, Singapore, and Cambodia. The exhibition is a reflection of the cultural and geographic diversity of the region, and emphasizes personal connection to history and politics, which are expressed through various media such as video, installation, photography, animation, painting, and performance video. The artists of this exhibition were born in and around 1980s, so they are now at the age of 30s through early 40s. So as a young generation, they share their experience of media technology, which can be seen in the use of their media. They also share their experience of the economic and political shift in their own society. For this exhibition, the artists have explored the small narratives from everyday life, and they visualize them through different aesthetic approaches that are received locally as well as globally. The exhibition covers diverse topics, including migration histories, labor, the environment, and the position and role of women in society. I'd like to give you a little explanation on a couple of the exhibiting works. And the first one, we are looking at an artwork by Chian Direct. Chian Direct is an artist from the Philippines whose artistic practice is based on an interdisciplinary approach. And the artist is interested in the issues around colonialism, ethnography, archaeology, history, and mythology. This piece is titled Ain't No Other Way Out of This Shit Show, made in 2020. And it is about the increased vulnerability of the marginalized group of people in the Philippines. If you look at the piece closely, you see two layers, and one is a photograph printed on fabric, and the other is embroidered images. The photographic image shows a group of people of the Ayata community from the central Luzon Island in the Philippines. And they are in the middle of the Ayata circle dance, which was traditionally conducted to celebrate birth or weddings, but is now mainly practiced as entertainment for tourists. This photograph was taken in the early 1900s by an American zoologist who was the Secretary of the Interior of the Philippines island during the American occupation. The embroidered images depict the current struggle of the Ayata community regarding land rights issues. Their ancestral lands are being stolen to build new cities. And this work is full of symbols. For example, the image of Tower of Babel here represents the desire for development. And also militarization is symbolized by the puppet monster here on the left and also on the right, which are controlled by bird feet. And you see the tree stumps here. It refers to ecological exploitation and displacement of peasant and indigenous communities. Now let's continue to take a look at the gallery views. And then I'm going to also give you a little explanation about this particular installation, which was created by Maharani Mancanagara, Indonesian artist who has a background in printmaking and now often works with drawing, mixed media, and installation. The artist is interested in exploring Indonesia's history based on her personal and family experiences. The title of the work is Tale of Wana Tantrum, made in 2018, which begins with the form of picture book for children and adults which artist expands to wooden objects with drawings like you see, and also interactive rotation storybox. And the story follows the lives of a number of Indonesian political prisoners during the 1960s and 1970s who were deported to the remote island called Buru. And she made various characters in this book, such as a mouse deer, wolf, sheep, pirate, and birds, which are the metaphors for the historical narratives that we already saw that in the installation view. And the book stimulates children to imagine and also think creatively. And at the same time, they also learn how to respect, how to harmonize and coexist with all other beings. So alongside the two works that I just gave you a little explanation, this exhibition also presents the artwork by Kawita Vatayangkur that Ms. Dika just mentioned about the performance from Thailand, and Niele from Myanmar, Saleh Hussein from Indonesia, Lim Kok Young from Malaysia, Horian from Singapore, Solia Po Min Bong from Laos, and Chanvati and Shinta Wibowo, one from Cambodia, and the other is based in Belgium. And now you are also looking at the exhibition space has been divided into two spaces. And then we have to divide. Some are very large installations, and some are comparatively smaller. The hanging piece on the wall, so we have to plan how we are going to display throughout the gallery spaces. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the tour.
Thank you so much, Jeong-ok. That was yet another captivating presentation, especially with Jeon's work, which is also featured in C Focus, as well as also, of course, Maharani's work as well. So we saw that, you know, this is an exhibition in collaboration with Connect ASEAN, and it's so timely as well because this C Focus also happens at the same time. And, you know, looking inwards, as an organization, as a platform, C Focus aims to be a meeting point for Southeast Asia because we want to recognize the various diversity differences, but also the togetherness of the region. And, you know, of course, it's such a tricky, you know, point of discourse. And I'm just wondering, you know, from your perspective, how do you talk, how do you discuss, how do you see the Southeast Asian region, you know, whether geopolitically maybe, or socially, culturally, yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's quite a
very heavy question, but I'll do my best to answer based on my personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the way we see the reason or the particular local, we normally rely on who sees it and also what kind of perspective that the viewer possesses, and whether it is based on a direct contact or experience with a local or regional, or is it just based on the media that represents the image of that region? And also, is it viewed from the outside or is it viewed from the inside? Because the one reason actually very large, very big geographically, yeah? And also the culture-wise, society-wise, it's diverse. But speaking Southeast Asia as one reason, I just want to share a little bit of my very personal experience on how I saw or how the people surrounding me talk about the reason. So I was in Korea 2002 until 2005, and then there was an issue around migrant workers coming from many different reasons, and as far as I know, the larger number of the migrant workers come from Southeast Asia. And then before that issue arose, actually not many people even talk about it, not even know about who they are or where their countries are located in. So because they didn't really have a direct context, maybe the peoples are not surrounding them, including me, so they didn't have enough information or understanding, but the way we knew or talk about Southeast Asia was very heavily reliant on the media. So our perspective, our understanding was very limited and also very biased at that time. But then I had a chance to live in the US from 2006 until like early 2010. And then that time I found that Southeast Asia was not even one reason that people talk about. It was just a part of the Asia as a whole. So the boundary becomes much larger. And then also now I become, even though I was the outsider to the US, but I was now become the insider of Asia. So I had also very different perspectives, and also the concept about Southeast Asia becomes to me getting more blurred and much more limited in the US. And personally, I had a chance to know several communities from Southeast Asian regions, and also I had a chance to work with them closely, and they were mostly who migrated to the US and who have living there for a long time. So maybe that could be the influence to the perception about that Southeast Asian, the reason in the US that the idea about Southeast Asia was very much based on diasporas, or the people who migrate, who settle there quite a long time. Now I'm living in Indonesia, and it's been 10 years since I've been keep moving around.
Oh, wow.
Chance to meet the Southeast Asia now directly, based on my everyday contact with the people. So I have a completely different understanding, information, and experience with them. And also I've been traveling around and working with the people. And now, whenever I had chance to speak about Southeast Asia in Korea, I'm representing Indonesia now. So my perspective, my perspective has changed a lot throughout the years, and it's of course based on direct contact with the people from everyday life. So, speaking the Southeast Asian art, then you may agree that the focus about Southeast Asian art in the past through the exhibition seems like more focusing on like highlighting the regional identities, or emphasize how unique it is. Yeah, tapi since right now everyone is connected, you know,
Absolutely.
we're all connected. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so it is really hard to say which one belongs to who or where. Jadi, what's more important for me whenever I think about Southeast Asia right now is more about the sense of blending, or sense of diversity, sense of hybridity. So I think that is also why Mr. Asep and we focused on small narratives. Small narratives possessed by the people throughout the region, from their day-to-day life in their own place, which is something more important to us, rather than we try to blanket atau give a very fixed idea.
Yeah, like a very boxing,
Yes.
Thank you so much. I mean, such a wonderful thing to hear. I mean, of course, you know, with time, we all change our perspectives. And the fact that you've lived in different locations, different spaces, and different points of time, and the way different people perceive something, I think that is truly important. And we definitely cannot rest at defining Southeast Asia as one thing. So thank you so much for that insight. And, you know, talking about time and space, you know, I'd also like to go to the next exhibition showcase, which Asri will be taking us through, titled Multiverses and Dreams. It is a very beautiful collection of Museum MACAN's private collection. So Asri, over to you.
Hello, thank you, Dika. Hello everyone. It's a really great honor to meet you all here. My name is Asri. I'm an assistant curator at Museum MACAN. Welcome to the virtual tour of the exhibition Semesta dan Angan, or Multiverses and Dreams. This is actually a very special occasion for us, as for the first time after our inaugural exhibition Art Turns World Turns in 2017, we are finally able to show again our collection to the public. So in this exhibition, we're showing a total of 24 works from our collection. And some of them are the major works owned by the museum that have never been exhibited before. Among the works exhibited are works by Olafur Eliasson, Sigmar Polke, Barbara Kruger, Kit Haring, James Rosenquist, Sob Hipwich, Yue Minjun, and Tisna Sanjaya. So Multiverses and Dreams exhibition brings together a cross-cultural selection of works from the collection of the museum. A little bit background maybe on the title and the concept of the exhibition. The Sanskrit word samasta and the Indonesian word semesta can be defined as the whole, entire, everything. It is a word which conjures up all things. And in English, the term multiverse refers to a theoretical scientific idea of a reality that includes an infinite number of parallel universes. So it proposes that other universes exist outside of our own. So in this exhibition, the artworks that we exhibit here reveal the diverse perspectives of artists as they express the multiple and subjective realities which make up our understanding of the world around us. So here we have, I will be explaining a little bit, the story behind each work in this exhibition. First, here we have the work by Olafur Eliasson titled Multiverses and Futures. It was created in 2017, and this work is actually also inspired the title of the exhibition. So Multiverses and Futures is a work by Eliasson, which basically consists of 4 optical devices, as you can see from the video, which known as kaleidoscopes. They are composed of stainless steel panels whose inner surfaces have been polished to form mirrors. So Multiverses and Futures, it's actually an interactive work. So the current display at the museum has been adapted for current social distancing requirements, which limit physical interactivity. But under normal conditions, the steel ring located around the viewing aperture, you can see that steel ring, is used to move the kaleidoscopes around to pick out single details from the surrounding. So the image produced by the kaleidoscopes continually shifts in response to our movements. And in doing so, the artist invites us to reconsider the relationships between the individual and the space around us. That particular work by Eliasson is displayed in our public area. Now we're entering our Gallery 2 area where the exhibition is located. And here we have the next work is by Kit Haring, titled Portrait of Grace Jones. And it's actually one of the most important works by the artist in our collection. So the 1980s in New York saw a creative explosion of experimentation in fashion, performance, and music. And Haring was strongly connected to this expanding field of art and immersed himself in the culture of New York streets and clubs. Many of Haring's works portrays, like the socio-political undercurrents of that time. He addressed discrimination, consumer society, LGBT rights, and the impact of the AIDS crisis. And this particular work, the portrait of Grace Jones, as you can see, the figure painted with white color against the red and blue background. That depicts the portrait of the Jamaican-born singer-songwriter, model, and actress Grace Jones, who is known for her androgynous style and edgy avant-garde performances. And she was really active member of New York social and art scene in the 1980s. During his lifetime, Haring collaborated with Jeon several times. He created some of her iconic makeup and costume designs, which combine graffiti pictograms with tribal patterning. That you can see also from the depiction of this figure, like similar, that's like the similar design that the artist made for Jones for the movie The Vamp. So Haring and Jones' collaboration remains a striking statement on the influence of street culture on emerging cultural expressions in 1980s New York. Next, we move to Kruger. So the rise of technology and advertising in the 19th to 20th century as a major force in capitalist economies is also one of the stimulus behind the application of language as an artistic strategy. The American artist Barbara Kruger began her career as a graphic designer for magazines company, while also doing freelance editing and designing jobs. This early career later had a significant impact on the development of Kruger's artistic style. In this particular work, it's titled Untitled Comet. It was created in 2019. Kruger shows a photo of a man's hand holding a bullet. And next to it, we can see the slogan, believe absurdity, commit atrocity. While on the right and left edges of the work, we can see the words, don't make me laugh. This slogan reminds us of the writings of Voltaire, a French philosopher and writer. In his 1765 publication, Questions on Miracles, he wrote, those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. So the work is really a call to action to foster critical thinking in our society and a warning of the implication if we do not. Next, we have the work by Bandu Darmawan, a young artist based in Bandung, Indonesia. Very special work. It's a recent acquisition by the museum. So for this exhibition, he created, not particularly for this exhibition, but this work that Bandu created in 2017 is a video installation titled Holden Highway. This work projects a loop of human shadows onto the wall of the exhibition area. In front of the wall, as you can see, there are two folding chairs where audience can participate and interact with the shadows that seemingly sit in front of them. So audience would feel as if they're interacting with an invisible figure whose presence could only be detected through his shadow that's projected on the wall. In this work, Bandu explores the nature of photon, which is one of the particles of light. He does this to question a number of ideas around reality and people's perceptions of science. The juxtaposition between the image that was recorded in the past, the shadow, and the audience's shadow that are produced in real time is used to question someone's interpretation of reality. After Bandu, we have another work by Indonesian artist Tisna Sanjaya, and also a very special work for us as it was made especially for the museum's first site event before we opened to the public. So this particular installation is a collection of object witnesses of a 2-hour performance presented by the artist during the museum's first site in 2017. So in the original performance, the artist has arranged 33 prayer rugs on a bed of charcoal powder, and the number 33 itself represents the number of repetitions within a zikr. At that time, Tisna Sanjaya laid on the rugs and invited members of the audience to sprinkle different kind of spices over his body, creating an image of his body silhouette. That includes cinnamon, turmeric, nutmeg, and that actually represent the rich natural resources spread over the Indonesian archipelago. So as well as its cultural diversity and its history. So all together, really, these works from our collection illustrates that how artists respond to their surroundings is a reflection of both the cultural and social histories of the cities and time periods in which artists produce works. This mix of viewpoints across time and culture engages us as an audience to question our own perspectives and to imagine different narratives for our future.
Thank you so much, Asri. That was a very thorough highlight of the 5 works, which I think really displays simply the breadth of your private collection. From the names that we see, in textbooks to names like Bandu, who are still emerging artists in Bandung, whom actually I just met like a couple of months back. So it's just so encouraging as well to see an institution like Macan to also be acquiring so actively and so timely alongside the usual bigger names, which I've also enjoyed in the past, with the Ai Weiwei works, etc. So I just want to ask Asri, because the museum, I feel like, is one of the very few who balances 2 languages quite um, actively, I would say. And I feel like having your shows to be accessibly in English and in Bahasa, that truly opens up more possibilities for you to perhaps do collaborations with other museums, for example, maybe host traveling shows, etc. But of course, the inner workings of doing that, I believe that must have its own sets of challenges. So I'm wondering if you could maybe share certain highlights or maybe strategies of reasonings, rationales of how you balance this dual language.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so Museum Macan, we always, in every opportunities, like in exhibitions, in our public programs, we always, as much as possible, we provide bilingual information to our public. And um, I think, as you mentioned, we think the use of English is very important for the museum as well as for the public to preach the communication and the exchange of ideas with the international art world. But it allows us to work together with other institutions outside Indonesia. Um, and but as much as possible, Museum Macan, we prioritize the use of Bahasa Indonesia in all of our text materials. So every exhibitions, so it materials in it materialized in the every material like wall text, captions, our exhibition guides, museum guides for children and others. We always prioritize the Bahasa Indonesia first because we think it's very important for us to first be able to communicate with our public here in Indonesia, and that's why we decided to do so, like to communicate using our own language. And of course there are some obstacles in the in the process, but we do realize and found many interesting facts as for instance, there are so many words in like English that we sometimes cannot find the translation of it, or sometimes we
Yeah, I
find
mean
some
vice versa, right? I mean, like
yeah,
Semesta and Angan, like these two words are so heavy in its own way. I mean, of course, Multiverses and Dreams, they're very accurate, I feel, but Semesta and Angan, they have such poetic kind of connotations to it.
yeah,
And I think, both languages really carry different emotions, which is like heartening to see.
yeah. For Semesta dan Angan and Multiverse and Dreams, actually we tweak it a little bit. It's not a really a direct translation, Semesta dan
Uh-huh,
Angan
uh-huh.
and Multiverses
Yep,
and
yep,
Dreams.
yep.
It's supposed to be, what do we call it? Like
Like
yeah. So
dreams,
we
inspirations.
we just
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
menyesuaikan apa ya?
Perlahan.
We just
Uh-huh.
both title
Mm-hmm.
based on the local context here. That's
I
why
see.
the title of the exhibitions became Semesta dan Angan, Multiverses and Dreams.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, by the way, the Q&A segment is always open, so please drop in your questions. Although I think right now is a good time to start discussing a couple of queries from the audiences. I mean, I of course have so many other questions, but I will definitely highlight the audience's questions first. So now we have a question by Ong Beng Wee. He said that, so glad to see female contemporary artists representatives like Melati in your recent shows. So he is wondering if there'll be more focus on the modern female artists, for example, maybe Emiria Sunesa or Umi Dahlan. I mean, the curatorial department of Macan. Maybe Asep could answer this.
Yeah, thank you, Dika, and thank you, Bengwi, for the question. Um, I would say yes and no. So yes, because in the curatorial department, we began the process of internal research, not only in contemporary art. So before move to that question answer, before Melati, we did also Rahmayani's show, and I think and yeah, that was uh, in the same scale with Melati as well. But again, Rahmayani is more contemporary and also Melati is contemporary. I think this is a very good question because yes, we did or we've been doing the internal research on also modern art history in Indonesia, including for some artists that you mentioned. For Umi Dahlan, actually we have a few of her work in our collection, and I said no because maybe not in the near future. Because, for example, with Emiria Sunasa, we've uh, we've done a little bit research on her work, and it was maybe less than 30 available, and with different collectors and owners. Not in the near future in the sense because the working method it's very different. I think it will be easier or not easier, maybe faster to work with the living artist. So it will have different challenges, and also we need more time, I think, to dig into this historical show. But by doing this research, we are not sure yet actually the output will be the same with the, for example, Melati show, because if it's going to be the, I don't know, research presentation or I don't know. But yeah, I think in the curator department we always balance that research process between contemporary modern art, and also as well as on gender perspective as well.
Thank you so much, Asif. I think that really makes you realize how much responsibility that your museum carry, despite it being a private museum. Of course, across our industry, we all have to adapt. Like STPI ourselves, we are not for profit, but we are still a commercial gallery as well. So all of us really juggle these different styles of modes of being an organization, and I feel like Museum Macan really does carry that weight and also that huge share of voice. And it will be really truly heartening if we could see more female representations, like what Bengwi has mentioned. And that also reminds me how we just talked about 3 shows, which is literally is showing in your building, right? At the moment, if only Jakarta is not under lockdown at the moment. So I've always been wondering, how do you balance that experience of visiting your museum, especially having most often 2 concurrent or even 3 shows at the same time. Like, I mean, I imagine the scheduling will be quite difficult, right? And like is there any sharing highlights or challenges you want to talk about? Maybe Asri or Asep.
Asri, you can go first. I mean, yeah, I will answer later.
Somehow, I guess, I mean, as Asep has mentioned before, we always try to balance the mix between the exhibition that we present on the same time. Like, for instance, if we have, if we on one time showing Indonesian artists, then we would try to balance it with the presentation of works by artists from international artists or from collection. But sometimes it's intentional, somewhat, and sometimes it's also happening like unintentional. Like it creates its own balance, I guess, sometimes, and we also surprise and different kind of experience, but somehow they just work together.
Yeah, I think for the space, not only in terms of co-curating, but working with the space itself is always challenging, I think, especially museum space that this is, I think, this is actually my first time working in such distinct spaces. Yeah, before I worked like in a quite different space, but the thing is that we need to find a balance, I think, between the ideas, what we are going to say to the public, and also how we present in the available space. Of course, it's not always easy, especially with the within the framework of contemporary art, which always give you a surprise with the artwork that need to be adjusted, and then of course the museum space itself has its own I don't know, protocol or something like that. But we are trying to find the balance between ideas and also more into technical preparation.
Yeah, I do, now I do see that there is a certain sense of complementariness of all the current ongoing shows. And, despite all that, there is a very clear trajectory that whatever shows that you might carry, they will always be of amazing quality. And maybe I have a final question to the MACAN team, because of course 2020 has been undoubtedly a tumultuous year for everyone within or even outside the industry, and organizations across the world, we're pushed to innovate and initiate so many new things and new project and lightning speed, digitization plans, etc. So maybe the team could share some of the highlights of 2020 projects, maybe, because I personally participated in Arisan, which was super fun and exciting. That really created a huge ripple in the scene, I feel. So maybe you could share more a bit about that, and also your other recent approaches to digitization.
Asri, or okay, maybe I can start. So yeah, this is a huge challenge for us. I mean, during the pandemic situation, we have like kind of migration to the digital world, and for us in the curatorial team, we are even until now, I think we are trying as much as possible to convert our findings, our research, our writing to be available for the public on the internet. Of course, we need adjustment, we need editing, we need etc. And I think so far it went good, especially when you mentioned about Arisan Karya. For me personally, I think that's the highlight for last year, 2020, and especially in this pandemic situation. Maybe some of us, or maybe most of us in the art scene as curator artists, is kind of stop the activities in regard to the pandemic situation. But when I maybe in the 10 years or 20 years ahead, I will remember this time. I think I will remember Arisan Karya because it was quite experience as well for us in the curatorial team. This initiative was initiated by the development team in the museum, but as curators, we were involved in the selection. We received like 1,200 artists application with more than 2,000 artwork that we select for 3 months. Yeah, I think that's the highlight for me for last year.
And I guess it's a joint effort, by the whole team at the museum. So not just curatorial, but other departments as well, like education, programs, also our communication and design team. Like we created, this program, Museum from Home, in which we upload like stories about our collections, some activities prepared by our education department to be enjoyed by our public at home. And I guess like Asep has mentioned, it's quite an experience, Arisan Karya, because it really, I guess, connect again like so many practitioners, like from artists, curators, galleries. They join the live session and we experience really some new energy. Like we're kind of missing it that at that time. And that happened. Like the conversation again between young and senior artists, some representations from galleries as well. You were there as well, I remember.
I think in short that internally it gave us a more positive vibes during that time.
It boosted the energy boost.
And externally we were also getting in touch with many artists in the art community in Indonesia. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think for sure, this time was hard, and I'm sure for sure will still remain difficult. But like from my end out, we also experience a lot of more collaborations, more banding together, more projects and shows, and focusing more towards the local ecosystem and really helping others. And I really, really, truly agree. And it's so nice to hear that Macan has been performing equally excellently, in this time. We are a little bit overrun, but I will still like to highlight our last question by Tarun Nagesh. Thank you, Tarun, for your question. Tarun said that we saw some of the blue chip works by international artists as well as your acquisitions by Indonesian artists. So Tarun was wondering if there was a certain collecting strategy for building Macan's international collection, and how is this rationalized against works by Indonesian artists and exhibitions? So I guess it's also like that balancing of the idea of what's local and what's global along your acquisition strategies. Yeah.
Yeah, if I would answer this question, first of all, this is Museum Macan is a private museum that its collection based on Pak Haryanto Adikusumo's collection, private collection, and yeah, we are very new museum, 3 years 3 years old, and to answer Tarun's question, yes, we have a certain collecting strategy for building merchant collection. But in the beginning, what we are trying to build is really based on this existing collection by of Pak Haryanto Adikusumo. Again, I think the question of balance, I think it's quite apparent in our strategy, because I cannot speak about the real composition, but we still need some representation from some region, for example, from female artists or in specific mediums. I think that's the thing that we are looking at the moment. Of course, in regard to the exhibition or programming, we are very much looking at the public of the museum itself, and how we create the program is really based on that needs or local audience, not only internationally. I think the museum big question is for the public. So the collection strategy, the programming, I think should reflect what the audience need or the public need in Indonesian or Jakartan context, and from that, I think we can go with a specific strategy.
Thank you so much, Asep, for your answer. Thank you, Tarun, for the question, and thank you so much, everybody, for such fulfilling sharing. This is a VIP segment of C Focus, and this will also be streamed to public later at 5 p.m. And you can also view all of our past segments, public talks, VIP online talks as well on our YouTube channel and on cfocus.sg. So I'd like to highlight that today is actually the last day of the physical showcase of C Focus Hyper Horizon. So if you happen to be in town in Singapore, please do visit Tanjung Pagar District Park now, make your way now. And we are closing at 8 p.m. And if you are based overseas, please do check out C Focus Digital on Artsy, as well as our editorial segment. We actually do also have an interview segment with Aaron Sito still available online. And we also have a 3D scan of the Hyper Horizon exhibition on C Focus website as well, for you who would also like to explore the physical space yourself. And for latest updates and features, please follow us on our social media platforms and join the C Focus mailing list. So thank you, Asep, Asri, and Jeong-ok. Thank you so much, everyone. Please take care and have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, Dika. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dika.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.